A very good afternoon to all of you. Myself, Dr. Charu Chadda, working as Assistant Professor at Banarsidass Chandiwala Institute of Physiotherapy. Today we are with Dr. Adnan Shirvani. He was formerly Additional MS associated with the Batra Hospital. Sir has also been former coordinator at Wimhens Hospital in Neuroscience Division. Presently, Sir is working as senior medical trainer in neuroscience department with AbbVie and Erargan companies. We welcome you, sir.
Good afternoon, Dr. Charu. Nice
Welcome,
to be
sir.
here. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us, sir. The topic for today's discussion would be, sir, mucormycosis, as it has created havoc
Okay.
around the city and probably the whole country that what kind of infection it is. So, can we start with the questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what is mucormycosis and who all are vulnerable for this disease?
Right. So, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have had multiple reports of very high incidence of mucormycosis, also known as black fungus in the press, although we'll clear this that it is not really black fungus. But there has been a very high incidence of mucormycosis, especially in the COVID-19 patients who are diabetic, and also some of the patients receiving steroids. So COVID associated, we are calling it COVID associated mucormycosis. It has been associated with a high rate of morbidity and mortality, and also increased the treatment costs for the patients who are suffering from COVID-19, and also led to a lot of shortages in the antifungal drugs nowadays. So mucormycosis is basically caused by a group of fungi, right? So also known as aspergillus. So there are a lot of patterns of mucormycosis, which I will be discussing throughout, but it is basically a fungal infection, which is caused by the aspergillus family. That is mucormycosis for you.
Okay, sir.
So,
So how is it related to COVID-19 and what are the early signs to be looked upon?
it is not a very recent disease, as I told you, but it has been increasing with the number of patients using steroids. Also, because of COVID-19, we see that there is a surge in the use of steroids. So people become immune compromised or immune deficient. So this immune deficiency makes us vulnerable to various other diseases. It cannot only be just fungal infection; it can be other bacterial infections as well. But because this fungus is very much available in the environment, and we are more susceptible to catch it because it is in the air and it can be transmitted very easily. So we have seen a very high surge in the number of cases of mucormycosis because of the inadvertent use of steroids, right? Um,
Sir,
yes, please.
any special age group we can think of that is being affected by
Yes.
mucormycosis?
So as I told you earlier, mucormycosis is more in patients, vulnerable patients who are diabetic or who are hypertensive. So these patients are more vulnerable to mucormycosis. As we have seen in our researches, papers suggest that a lot of high glycemic index is the also a leading factor for mucormycosis. So one is immune deficiency, another is high glycemic index. So if you talk about age group, it would be middle-aged to elderly people who are suffering from any other comorbidities apart from the COVID-19 disease.
Okay. So how can we prevent it? Any precautions which can be taken care of?
If you talk about prevention, there is no such guideline for prevention, or there is no recommendation for any antifungal prophylaxis. If you talk about the treatment part, the only thing we can do is that we can have a judicious use of steroids nowadays because of COVID. Only when the patient is hypoxic that you should use steroids. Otherwise, they are not recommended. We have seen that patients are started with steroids very early on, which actually aggravates both blood pressure and blood sugar levels for a longer period, keeping the patient more vulnerable. Uh, uh, I will tell you some of the misleading informations. One, that is not a black fungus. It is known as black fungus because it appears to be black. The black color or discoloration is because of the necrosis and not because of any other, pigmentation. Black fungi is another class of fungus. So mucorales are not black fungi, but black fungi is a different, completely different category of fungus who secrete melanin. But in this, the skin presentation is necrotic tissue, which appears to be black, and so we call it as a black fungus. So mucormycosis is very different from black fungus. So that is one misinformation. The second is mucormycosis is not contagious. So if somebody has mucormycosis, you do not have to worry that it is going to be contagious because of skin to skin contact. Because I told you, it's very freely available in the environment. So only immunodeficiency and high glycemic index are the reasons for more vulnerability towards mucormycosis. So it is non-contagious. And third, it does not spread by oxygen humidifiers or water, as we know that some of the misinformation that it is spreading because of dirty pipes, tube lines, oxygen humidifiers. That is not primarily the reason, because it is freely available in the air. It can transmit with or without the pipes and tube lines. But if you have a very clean and good environment, it will lead to less chances of getting mucormycosis. So if you ask me what are the preventive actions, it would be to keep a clean, healthy environment, one. Number two, judicious use of steroids. And number three, take special care for patients who are diabetic and who are elderly, so that we can keep the sugar levels well in control when we are giving a therapy. So these are the major ways on how we can prevent mucormycosis. And also, there is no antifungal therapy which should be given. It is not advisable to give any antifungal therapy to prevent mucormycosis.
Okay. As we know, sir, that patients are there and early diagnosis is to be done. So कुछ हम ऐसा भी देख सकते हैं कि हमारे पास में early diagnosis का कुछ रहे role so that we can help the patients also.
Absolutely. So before going into the diagnosis, I will talk about what are the types of mucormycosis. So there are primarily two types of mucormycosis. One is which affects the sinus areas, or you can say oral mucormycosis. And the second is the pulmonary mucormycosis. So there is a systemic and then there is a local mucormycosis. So the most common presentation right now is the oral mucormycosis. The early signs of mucormycosis is mainly pain. It can be a facial pain or a jaw pain. It can be numbness. It can be swelling. It can be discoloration. There can be toothaches, loosening of teeth, right? So these are the early signs of the COVID-19 illness presentation. Also, you can have nasal discharge, which can be brown or black in coloration because of the blood. There can be a lot of headaches, frequent headaches. There can be diplopia or blurring of vision as well if the eyes are involved. So if you talk about the face, primarily it is either the oral cavity, it is the nasopharynx, or it can be orbital or cerebral mucormycosis. So these are the four types which we see. And in pulmonary, we have, it is very confusing nowadays because it is very hard to pick up because it mimics the COVID-19 pattern as well. So always after an X-ray, you should go for an HRCT, and lung CT sometimes can be confused with pleural effusion is one more marker. Look for any pleural effusion. If there is any pleural effusion, look for patches, look for lymph nodes in the CT. These are all distinguishing factors from COVID-19 of mucormycosis. Also, if there is a repeated negative galactomannan test or a beta glucan test, that also you should also suspect mucormycosis in cases of pulmonary mucormycosis. So if you talk about the early indicators, they are the prompt, be vigilant for the newer symptoms post-COVID when the treatment is ongoing. Look for newer symptoms like pain, paresthesia, swelling, numbness, and also respiratory symptoms. Then you can give the treatment.
So in many of the cases, it is seen that it is somewhat related to the oxygen concentrator also. So
Yes.
what may be the source of infection? Is it related somewhere to sterility of the oxygen concentrator also?
No, as I told you, that this is a misinformation. Mucormycosis is primarily caused because of immunodeficiency rather than the clean environment. To keep a clean environment, we can prevent it to some extent, but if the patient is immune compromised or it is immune deficient, there is more likely chance, because this fungus is very easily available in the environment and you can't control its presence. It is there on surfaces, it's there in the air, it is there everywhere. So as I told you, that we have to see, we can, if we can keep the blood sugar monitoring very stringent, we can keep the environment as clean as possible. But to say that, it is transmitted through humidifiers and oxygen concentrators is very unlikely. Rather than, I would say the burden is more on the immune deficient part. um, Also, I'd like to mention the early, when you said about early identifiers, you need to have early diagnosis as well. So for an early diagnosis of mucormycosis, you have to have an ENT consultation if there is any involvement of the oral or nasopharynx. If there is any lesion, you can take a scraping of the lesion for testing. If there is, you can also, if the oral, you can have a PNS view X-ray or a CT scan to identify if there is any mucormycosis mass or swelling there. And for the lungs, you can have a CT scan or also a bronchoalveolar lavage. So these are the methods of having diagnostic tests. So a biopsy or a specimen is the most definitive diagnostic test for mucormycosis.
Okay. So what are the treatment options available for the mucormycosis?
Yes, that's very important. So, since it is a fungal infection, so we will have to have a very multidisciplinary team to take care of mucormycosis. It should be a disease specialist, it should be a ENT specialist, a microbiologist for diagnosis, a histopathologist to check for the biopsy, and if there is any orbital involvement, you need to see an ophthalmologist as well. And if there is any neurological problem, you need to go for a neurologist as well. So you need a very multidisciplinary team to identify it, because it is a medical emergency. Now the treatment is first and foremost is to control the diabetic situation. Higher levels of sugar will increase the mucormycosis very rampantly. So control the sugar levels. If it is uncontrolled, control the ketoacidosis if it is there, because it's a medical emergency. A reduction of steroids is the foremost, because you need to reduce the steroids so that to control the glycemic index. Then if there is any immunomodulating drugs, like we use tocilizumab, baricitinib, tofacitinib, these are the drugs which are commonly used these days, immunomodulators. So you have to reduce the use, or absolutely stop the use of immunomodulator drugs to further, which are reducing the immunity of the body. Then go for surgical debridement. If there is any local lesion or swelling, and if you see there is any necrosed tissue, it needs to be removed. Uh, so much so that even if you find a lesion in the lung, the lobe, if it is pertaining to one lobe, it is advisable to immediately go for a surgical debridement of that lobe, so that to reduce the load of the infection. So surgical debridement, followed by which you will give the medicines or antifungals. So the preferred treatment is with amphotericin B. It has to be given intravenous. Before giving amphotericin B, you have to hydrate the patient as much as possible. So give a lot of fluids, saline, injectable salines, and post giving saline, you can give a liposomal amphotericin B. It has to be given, the dosage is around 5 milligrams per kg per day. So it has to be infused intravenously. Apart from that, you have antifungal drugs. During the injection, you have to monitor for the vitals very closely, monitor the renal function and the potassium levels, and then go for some drugs which are available. One is the posaconazole, and the other is isavuconazole. So these are other two alternative antifungal drugs which can be used. They can be given as injectables, or they can be given as oral medication as well, along with the amphotericin B. So apart from that, you have to monitor the cardiac imaging of the patients, because it may involve, it can lead to fungal carditis as well. So monitor patients for clinical radio imaging and cardiac conditions as well. And from time to time, you have to identify the disease progression as well. So take samples again and again to see whether it has reduced in the size as well. So these are the methods of management of mucormycosis. The therapy is very long for mucormycosis. It takes around 3 to 6 weeks for the therapy to continue. So amphotericin B is usually continued for 3 to 6 weeks in concomitantly with the other therapy as well.
Okay. So why is it considered so lethal in nature?
So as I told you that mucormycosis is responsible for immediate necrosis. So if you have necrosed tissue in the body, it can lead to sepsis and multi-organ failure. And also mucormycosis impairs the renal function as well. So mucormycosis is as dangerous as septicemia. And the major cause is because of the gangrenes, which are made because of the fungal infection. Also, when you have mucormycosis, it in turn says that there is a very high glycemic index in the body. So you can succumb to other complications such as diabetic ketoacidosis, hyperkalemias, and various cardiac issues as well. So it has to be identified early, it has to be diagnosed early, and it has to be treated as early as possible.
Okay. And sir, are there any myths related to it which can be cleared upon for the people?
Um, First is that it has to be prevented. This infection has to be prevented. So I can just say what are the tips to prevent it. We cannot give any therapies. So the best tips to prevent it, according to the World Health Organization, right now is control your glycemic. A good glycemic control is the foremost way of controlling it. Second, systemic steroids should not be used unless and otherwise they are recommended. Uh, Unless there is hypoxia and there is a very high level of cytokine rush on early indicators through blood, do not go for any systemic therapy or oral therapy of steroids. Then these steroids, again, once they are contraindicated in patients with the normal saturation. So if the patient is having normal saturation in room air, steroids are contraindicated for patients. That is how we should use the steroids. Dose and duration of the steroid therapy should also not be prolonged. So what we have seen is the maximum recommended dose is 0.1 milligrams per kg body weight per day for dexamethasone. So do not go beyond that. So that amounts to around 6 to 8 milligrams per day. So don't go beyond that. We have seen patients getting 20 or 30 milligrams of steroids. So non-judicious judicious use of steroids is also not recommended. Although we have a pulse therapy where in COVID-19 patients, we give around 40 milligrams or 80 milligrams of a steroid per day, but we do it only for 5 days and then we immediately discontinue. So I think that is one good way of stopping the use of steroid therapy. We have seen patients receiving steroids for months together and then developing mucormycosis. So please do not use steroids unless it is very important and it is a life saving.
Correct.
And universal masking to be done to reduce the exposure to mucorales. So especially these construction sites, dusty areas should be avoided. Wear mask as much as possible so that you can avoid the lot of dust in the air, which also is a carrier for the fungal infections. So during the discharge of the patients, you should advise the patient about the early symptoms of mucormycosis, which is very important, like facial pain, nasal blockage, excessive discharge, loosening of teeth, etc., which I mentioned earlier. Also, chest pains and respiratory insufficiencies are also one reason. Recently, I saw chest X-ray of a patient after 1.5 months. So it seems to me as a mucormycosis. So now we are trying to identify whether it is the same. Reduced saturation after even 1 month of treatment from COVID is also an early sign or a thing to ponder upon that maybe patient is having mucormycosis. So I think that would be how to prevent the infection. And regarding again the misleading and misinformed factors, I told you that it's not a black fungus. So people should stop calling it a black fungus, and it is completely a different family. And second, that it is not contagious. So don't be afraid if somebody or loved one has a mucormycosis. It is non-contagious, so you don't have to be afraid of that. And you have to have a very aggressive treatment. And again, it is not spread by oxygen masks and humidifiers and concentrators because it is already there in the outdoor environment. So they go into the mouth through the respiratory tract and affect only the immune compromised people, right? And no antifungal therapy is recommended for mucormycosis in COVID. So don't start with any antifungal therapy for mucormycosis if you're taking COVID. So I will just also share my screen and show you just a picture. I don't know whether it is. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. So can you see it now?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Is it visible? So this is the reason
Yes,
why
sir.
it is called a black fungus, because as you can see this picture, there is a gangrene on the buccal cavity, on the hard palate
Mhm.
there. So this is if you scrape this and go for a test, you have a diagnosis, and the treatment would be debridement. Also, if you see this radio imaging here, you can see this radio imaging. You can see the mass, uh, which is on both. It is affecting on the right side in the maxillary area, on the right side at the base
Mhm.
of the skull as well. So you can see an extensive disease which is there. So these are the early indicators. You can have a CT scan in a PNS view. This is how we do a CT scan in the PNS view, or a coronal section of the skull. And diagnosis, again, you can see the teeth are also loose here on the upper end, and
Mhm.
there is a black gangrenous patch in the buccal cavity. So these are the early indications. So it is a very deadly disease once infected. So just just to show you the picture of mucormycosis and how it is.
So one last question, like the physiotherapy,
Yes.
chest physiotherapy exercises, the breathing exercises have been into quite much role and appreciated in COVID-19 patients. If by chance
Yes.
any patient gets caught up with the mucormycosis and the treatment course, as you have told, that it takes 3 to 6 weeks. So can the patient also take, mild chest physiotherapy or the aggressive one, even for that matter, if he wants to improve his oxygenation level also?
Yes. So I think physiotherapy has played a very big role. I don't think whether the people understand it, but even better than steroids, physiotherapy is one way of battling COVID in a very good way. And any chronic disease which affects the lungs, it is very important to increase the capacity or lung capacity. It can be done actively and it can be done passively. So there are breathing exercises which are done actively, which will increase the lung capacity, or what we call as the tidal volume of the lung, and as well as passive exercises like tapping of the lungs through any other modalities, which will increase the oxygenation of the body through the lungs. So any disease which is an obstructive pulmonary disease or a restrictive pulmonary disease can be tackled with physiotherapy. So I think it is a very important educational role as well, that you have to inform the patients well before in the disease that you need to take regular physiotherapy from day one, so that you can increase your lung capacity and in turn increase your oxygenation and improve your saturation. So when people ignore physiotherapy for the first few weeks going into COVID, and that is the reason why we have to go for medicines or drugs which can cause bronchodilation, or decrease the congestion of the lungs. Because primarily we have to understand that COVID attacks the alveoli and the surfactant, which causes collapse of the alveoli. So as much as possible, we have to revive those alveoli so that we have an overall good oxygenation and lung capacity. So I think even in mucormycosis as well as COVID-19, lung physiotherapy is very important, both active and passive, which has to be promoted as well as given to all patients.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for a very knowledgeable
Yeah,
session and sparing time for us. Thank you so much. Have a
thank
good
you.
day, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye bye.